I'm Paramjeet Virdi, working in the field of data analytics from more than 15 years now. So, today I'm going to talk about data analytics and its importance in solving business problems. So, if we take it in very simple terms, what is data analytics? It is about using data in the context of business for its processes, its people, and the most important, its customers. So, analytics is no longer about just looking at data and some reports. Today, analytics has become important for businesses because it helps businesses to optimize their performance by finding more efficient ways of doing business. And all of this is on the basis of data and the signals coming from data. Earlier, analytics used to be an afterthought for CEOs and CMOs. But with our ever changing ecosystem and customer needs, it should be an integral part of business model and their business strategy. So analytics helps in solving business problems across industries as well as for departments within an organization. Like for example, for marketing department, it helps to optimize their dollars spent. In case of healthcare industry, it helps in identifying early signals of a disease. For a retail digital client, it helps to know which products their customers will like before even launching the product. In case of auto companies, the time to launch a new model gets reduced drastically by using analytics on structured and unstructured data, which is collected from various researches, surveys, or other reports and user usage interactions with their vehicles. So, what all can businesses do with analytics? So, once they have the foundational data systems in place, they can continue to evolve, and in parallel, business can start leveraging the power of data for various purposes. The first and the most common one being business intelligence. Now, in case of business intelligence, there are different tools that are available in the market. These can help to understand the performance of business. But in addition to tool, the most important element of BI is storytelling, which is not something that tools do. This is something that people bring in as a skill. And there are inherent ways to highlight signals that need further deep dives or actions. The other way to use the data can be to identify the reasons for low conversions and to find right target audience whom businesses need to target at the right time in their journey for better conversions. It also helps to identify best and least performing contents and keywords. Now, it also helps businesses to find out, say, the audience cohorts who have got similar interests and which are the touch points that this cohort responds better to, so that you spend your marketing efforts on those touch points and not on every touch point equally. Building the culture of test, learn, and adopt. So, this is another area where your data analytics can help across the organization to get onto the journey of A B testing. So, it helps to identify the areas which you can test to improve the performance, but not being very confident how end users will respond to it. So, this is a great way to know what works and what doesn't work by experimenting with limited audience and hence reducing the risk to the business. You can leverage the power of data to measure ROI. Now, ROI is not only in one area. It can be in the area of IT investment, manufacturing units, and for that matter, even investment in analytics. Data can help you to build hyper-personalization, automated recommendation engines, and the list is endless. What you can do with data is today beyond our imagination. It is about getting to the data, exploring the signals, and then applying business lens on top of it. So let's talk about some of the benefits to business with data analytics. So the first one being they can serve their customers better by understanding what their needs are. Now, with today's customers, when they have exposure to so many touch points, their needs are changing. Their ways of buying products are changing. If you use data analytics, you can surface up newer trends, newer interests, and then you can target your users as per what they need. Businesses can measure even the impact of their activities on the key KPIs. For example, one of my clients, wherein they were doing releases every week, but they had no idea how these releases are actually impacting the business. Is this effort worth it or not? So, data analytics helped them to identify with each release what was the impact on the key KPIs. So, they can also leverage this data to understand what is going right and what is not going right, which is very important to understand. So, analytics helps to find urgent issues and that too in time. So, issues can be identified, or if you don't have analytics, you may identify issues at a very later stage when the impact to the business is huge. With this, you get to identify the issues in time and you can address them. It also helps to uncover the fresh insights with the ever changing world and take action wherever necessary. So, one of the clients that I have worked for, which was in the oil industry, so we did analysis to help them identify and predict hazardous situations with oil leakage in pipes. Now, this analytics was a lifesaver for the people working in that organization who were there near the oil pipes and monitoring them. So, isn't it a great advantage? On the other side, analytics also helps to reduce waste for the organizations which are manufacturing products. It improves your manufacturing process. It also helps you to plan better and upfront for the demand. Today, only 1 to 5% of data is being used by organizations in decision making. To make best use of data, there are few things that are required and organizations need to focus on. They need to have the right foundation for analytics by collecting the required information across various processes and departments, building a connected ecosystem, and most importantly, having the right skills within the organization to look at this data and identify right takeaways. With the reduced cost of cloud platform these days, it has become really very easy for organizations to collate data and put it to best use. With the most focus of evolution of analytics tools and models which are building more and more capabilities each day, organizations need to have right kind of competencies to search and retrieve the information in the context of business problems. Tools can help you to ease out your work, but for them to apply business lens onto it, this is where the competencies and skills of the people is required. Now, in addition to solving bigger problems like measuring the ROIs or developing an automated recommendation system, analytics helps you to start working in small increments. It helps you to find out small incremental gains, like you can measure the impact of every release, as I talked about. Or you can learn to optimize the journey or experience on a regular basis. So the small, visible, and measurable gains, they result in an overall improvement across the business over time. Hence, data analytics, which is my most passionate topic, is the most important component of any business strategy.
Hello everyone, a very good afternoon. This is Sharmishta here, and I work at Publicis Sapient as a Senior Manager of Data Sciences. And today I'm here on behalf of Women in AI to speak a few words on the role of ethics and sustainability in building personalized healthcare solutions. As we see, AI has been widely adopted across all industries, be it automotive, healthcare, or AI in banking. So as it is getting widely adopted, what kind of solutions that we are looking at to build for, especially for healthcare sector? In healthcare, we have to be aware of certain things, like we collect a lot of sensitive user information, like users' age, say gender, users' health diseases, like some of the diseases which the user can be prone to, or he has had surgeries in the past, and some of those could be like he doesn't want to disclose it to the external world. And when we collect such information and build models, we have to be very careful about loss of those confidential information. If we build models and those information get leaked to the outside world or to some adversaries, then it will lose the sensitivity of those confidential information. So how do we build such models? So one of the main architectures that we follow for building personalized healthcare systems is building recommendation systems through federated learning. Federated learning is a kind of learning where a lot of clients or a lot of IoT devices, specifically in medical sector, we call Internet of Medical Devices, which may be installed at user's house or inside user's body, monitoring a lot of different parameters like the heart rate, blood pressure, and other details. And they send these devices record this information and train local models what the user's pattern of behavior or pattern of having anomalies in the body, and send them to the local server, a centralized server. And the centralized server collects models from different local devices and ultimately trains a centralized model and pushes to the end devices or the IoT devices. Now, when we are training such models, we should be aware that we are not leaking the information while sending in then through the network. This can be done through different encryption techniques or anonymization techniques, or even multi-party secured communication, like we encrypt in a specific way that nobody else than the server will be able to decode and use that information for model training. And when we do that, we should be aware that the devices are also training a local model, the IoT devices specifically, and they should only train at times when they have a lot of power and capability to do so. Otherwise, what will happen? These devices are power hungry, and the battery may die down if they are participating at all rounds of the training and sending the model parameters and the model weights. So a kind of mechanism that has evolved around training models at local devices is called like the efficient client scheduling. Like at certain times, certain clients will be selected and they would participate in the training process, and they will send the updates to the server. At other times, the other clients which have available power and network resources will send. And more so, not only sending in an encrypted fashion that federated learning architecture allows it, most important is to send and help the server to train in a way that the model converges. So if the server tries to wait always for the slowest client when the slowest client has power availability, then the model convergence may take time. So what we have to see in devices participating in such training process is that the training time is such that it is not slow convergence, neither the model metrics or the accuracy metrics suffers a greater hit. So optimal value has to be achieved with scheduling the clients and the model metrics. And when we talk about model metrics, what are those? One of the metrics could be accuracy, of course, precision recall in some kind of classification models, R-square in regression models, but for privacy, we also have to keep certain parameters in mind, like the R-square, like the epsilon, which is called the privacy budget. So how much a model is private? So apart from adding, say, secure parameter encryptions and secure multi-party exchange, we can also add a level of app level privacy, which is called differential privacy. This app level privacy will ensure that an adversary, when attacks the model, is not able to distinguish between two model outcomes that is predicted from two different data sets, which differs in one input at the data set. That is, one data record is differing and the but the outcomes are so similar that the adversary is not able to attack the model and retrieve the confidential information of the user. So we have to build and rely on such hybrid models, hybrid privacy models. And above that, not only privacy, we should also see that we have fairness incorporated in such models. So why fairness? So sometimes healthcare agencies like healthcare centers, universities, research centers, hospitals, which contribute in sending information to the centralized server because they have a lot of information available for different varieties of user, and they send it to the central cloud for helping their models to get built for different sectors of population, different age groups, different racial ethnicities. But what may happen is that sometimes it may be skewed. The data may be skewed towards one sector of the population, one age group, one age sector of the demographics. And in this way, if we are not vigilant enough on the data, incoming data, the data used to train, or the pre-processing and the post-processing techniques, as well as the training technique, then we may end up in a skewed model that is more biased to a certain sector of the population or certain racial ethnicities. Maybe we can notice that the black section of the population have low susceptibility to certain rates of cancer, but which may not be true because we don't have sufficient data for the black people. So we cannot end up saying that they have low susceptibility to any particular disease. What is needed in here is to ensure that the data for different varieties of population are in proportion available, and add certain optimizations to our algorithm, like optimizations where their proportionality is checked or is validated. And what I mean to say, that if you put 5 majority section of the population, then we should also ensure that 2 or 1 of the minority section of the population is also there in, say, in training a clustering algorithm. So there are different types of optimizations available, that is called constraint optimization, that ensures the fairness of systems are validated and the model outcome is not biased or skewed towards any sector of the population. And above all, when we do that, we have to be very vigilant on the power of the devices, as an end IoT devices may have less power, and this constraint optimizations problem are difficult to train. So one thing is power, and the other thing is when they send the model updates to the central server, we have to also take into account the network overhead, because sending a lot of information of the model parameters, gradients and weights will add to the network load, and then again that will create a problem, a loading problem and the overhead problem on the network. So there are researches getting carried on. We should be looking at those. How do we incorporate the right model compression techniques to reduce as much as information transmission as possible? And above this, we have to build sustainable AI solutions, like our pipeline, apart from machine learning models, the entire big data pipeline which is set up into the cloud has to be sustainable. Like tomorrow, even not only tomorrow, but even in the future, it should be robust to catch any different behavior of the users. So a user may not be having a specific disease, but if certain times he's having the disease, the model should be quickly able to catch it, and the trained model should be able to recommend nearest healthcare centers or nearest doctors or medicines that is available based on the capturing of the user report. So what we need here is, say for COVID, there has been a lot of work done on federated learning in COVID times that is used to ascertain the oxygen level or the level of emergency that is needed for individual users. And that is only possible through federated model, and where we have more efficient model monitoring techniques using MLDB, ModelDB or MLflow, which captures the metrics and identifies the drifts at particular times. And that trips help us to know that there has been a change in behavior, and quickly the personalized models will be able to recommend those services which will be useful for the user. And at the end of the day, we cannot forget, like when we deploy the model, where are we deploying? Is my solution where I'm deploying in a suitable data center, having the good processing ability, like it is processing running in a bad job, or it's being deployed at a data center which is having less carbon emissions? Because at the end of the day, when we are deploying solutions and building solutions for somebody's healthcare systems, for hospitals, universities, like we cannot forget that we are doing harm to the environment. So where we should monitor our models that they are having the right carbon emissions. We are training only when needed, re-triggering the models for retraining only when there has been a drift and that the accuracy level has fallen. So so some of the things I would like to highlight and so I would like to summarize is one is incorporating privacy, incorporating fairness, looking at the right accuracy metrics, not only from the perspective of the model, but also from the perspective of privacy, like epsilon, like which measures how much the model is private based on the size of the data set. Not only every model will have the same epsilon of the model privacy. Then from the first perspective of fairness, like how much constraint optimization we have done, and the model may get some kind of a hit in terms of accuracy, but the fairness measure, there will be terms to measure fairness lambda, and we are able to measure it and see that yes, the model is fair for different sections or all the demographic sections of the population. And we have to be also careful about when we trigger the model training at the individual devices, IoT devices, and how much sensitive information they are capturing, how we are efficiently transferring, and at the end that we are the central server is able to build the model at the right data center and offering the recommendations like which user needs what at what time. Is quickly able to, the model is quickly able to predict and offer the required services to the end users. So the recommendation services can be prompted onto the users through different ads or different say apps, and that when the user sees this, he knows that what he should do at the right time. So before it gets late, he should contact that in healthcare centers or doctors and take appropriate medicines and take suitable actions. And this federated modeling in healthcare systems should also need the collaboration of everyone, not only users but universities, hospitals, and data scientists, data engineers, analysts, who should work hand in hand together to get a full-fledged end-to-end pipeline and system working. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Kajal Kansal. I would like to introduce myself as a postdoc researcher at National University of Singapore. Being a Y expert, today I would like to discuss about some real-world statistics and upcoming challenges in front of artificial intelligence. In artificial intelligence, I majorly focus over computer vision with the goal of video surveillance systems. So in today's digital world, we can see video surveillance systems are ubiquitous. We can find them everywhere. All of the countries, they are exploiting video surveillance system to solve the security issues. In the past decade, security has become a major issue in front of all the countries. So here video surveillance systems came into picture, and surveillance related algorithms, they try to solve a lot of security related problems everywhere. So one can easily monitor the person, one can easily detect the person, locate the person, and track the person. That person could either be a criminal or any person of interest. So here we can see that these days surveillance systems are able to achieve the competitive accuracy as human can do. So video surveillance has actively involved in all of these cases and solved them. So now I would like to discuss some of the real world security problems which video surveillance has actually tackled. So the first case was 26/11 attack in India at Taj Hotel. So there was a big attack at Taj Hotel, and the whole mystery was solved with the help of a video surveillance system by tracking the individual and by tracking that particular criminals. Later, the another case was happened in US. That was a Boston bombing case. So there was some bomb explosion happen during the Boston Marathon. There were two suspects came into picture. Then police investigators find out the location of that suspect using the surveillance systems. And the third case happened in China. That was a robbery case. There was a suspect, and video surveillance systems were helpful to track the location of that robber. So in these scenarios, we can see how video surveillance system actually handle this real world surveillance systems. So at the same time, when video surveillance did a lot of things, but people overuse the power of artificial intelligence, especially digital video surveillance during this corona outbreak. How did they do this? So they installed more number of cameras. Some countries install these cameras in front of the houses of a person, and some also did installation inside the houses, where they enforce stay home notices, mandate social distancing, and these kind of things to so that it can help them with coronavirus. However, at the same time, people felt that there is a lot of invasion in in their privacy, so which becomes a global issue. So, due to this thing, Cisco has also conducted a survey to find out if there is any loss in the trust in AI use cases. Then Cisco did this survey in the whole countries, and then they find out that yes, there are lot of loss of trust in the AI use cases globally. So, which brings a major uh, upcoming challenge of privacy in video surveillance systems. So, here, video surveillance systems are facing privacy issues from a lot of time. Even a lot of government has made their privacy regulations to handle these privacy issues. Some of the government has also enforced privacy regulation in their countries. So I can say out of 195 countries, 124 countries has already passed this privacy regulation. So the overall goal of these privacy regulations are twofold. First, they have grant the privacy rights to the humans so that they can control their personal data. And the second thing, they enforce this privacy regulation over the companies so that they can also mandate a special principles in their surveillance systems to handle the privacy issues. So overall, the entire goal is to handle the privacy in surveillance systems. With this privacy thing, many surveys has been conducted, and what's that survey has been found out that young generation are more proactively aware about their privacy as compared to the old consumers. So this becomes a very big research question, like how to handle the privacy in artificial intelligence. So if I can give you an example of real world, now if you install one app, then they ask for many permission. So the whole data of your mobile can go to that third party, but you don't read at all and you just agree. So this can steal your privacy a lot. Even if you open a website, that can also install they have also installed cookies which can steal a lot of data of your computer. Other examples are like Google Password Manager. They can store all of your password, which can heavily leak the privacy. So because of these things, Facebook and Google, such companies, they have also penalized a lot of dollars because of leaking the data of the customers. So here, overseeing this thing, we can say privacy is actually becoming a worst and worst day by day. And in the next decade, the upcoming challenge in front of AI is privacy. But how to handle this challenge? Now there are a lot of techniques are coming in learning based systems like machine unlearning. So the concept of machine unlearning says that one can make machines capable of unlearn the consumed data. So if any user request comes to forget the data from the learning system, so companies should have that criteria so that they can unlearn their data. So in this way, privacy can be addressed. So here I would like to end the video with the one quote. So here, if you use the powers of AI in a sufficient manner, then it can bring you a constructive energy. But if you overuse or misuse or abuse the powers of artificial intelligence, then it can bring only destruction. So here one should know how to use efficiently and with dignity and with ethically the power of AI so that it can give us beautiful future. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone. My name is Nidhi Goyal. I am a PM Fellow and a PhD student at IIIT Delhi, working with Prepog Research Group led by Professor PK, Cracker Lab led by Professor Raghava Muthuraju, and my industry mentor is Dr. Niharika Sachdeva from InfoEdge India Limited. My primary area of interest is solving real world problems related to online professional networks, knowledge sharing networks, using techniques from natural language processing, machine learning, and knowledge graphs. Now, in this talk, our focus is that how knowledge graphs are of great utility in AI-enabled enterprise applications. Now, the first question is, why do we even care about knowledge graphs? The answer is that whether you want to invest in some company or you want to do information retrieval or search as Google does, or you want to recommend some items or maybe movies to your consumers, so recommending movies like Netflix, they also uses knowledge graphs. These are used everywhere. Therefore, for example, if I want to invest in a company, I have to do a lot of research so that I can actually make decisions whether to do this task or not. So we want some mechanism where we empower machines with some form of background knowledge to help it make intelligent decision making. So if I know that a company A, it has prices down due to its subsidiary called B, this kind of background knowledge actually help in interpretation for the machines. Therefore, knowing this fact or having this taxonomical knowledge is actually, which is a part of a bigger graph called a knowledge graph, it is crucial for most of the applications. Now coming towards our second question, that what are the key questions that any enterprise would essentially ask or find answers to while dealing with the knowledge graphs? So the first question is, what businesses or what business values do knowledge graphs bring to my organization? And how can I make them transparent and measure them? The second question is, what skills and changes are required in my organization to bring knowledge graph initiative into production? The third question is, what tools and infrastructure are needed to bring the knowledge, or actually the knowledge graph innovation into production actually. The fourth question is, what are the first 2-3 initiatives to start with or are necessary stakeholders on the board? So these are a couple of questions which enterprises want to implement or find a strategy so that you can focus or sell your initiative in your organization. Having said that, there are also a couple of challenges, several challenges actually, while dealing with knowledge graphs. So these challenges are extracting knowledge automatically from unstructured sources. Second is, how can we search and update from the data at scale? Third, how can we reuse this existing knowledge? There are more like how we can evaluate our ideas efficiently, or how to work with heterogeneous information flow, which comes from multiple sources, from thousands of employees, companies, different stakeholders. And the most prominent one is that whenever we are using some crucial or critical applications, maybe the medical domain applications, where we have the real world use cases, there we need some real world, deal with real world data, and our focus is on reducing false positives. So these are some of the challenges that we encounter while dealing with knowledge graphs. But the impact of knowledge graphs through the applications in open innovation, it is already being illustrated by their adoption in large corporations like Google, Microsoft, LinkedIn, and many more organizations. They have already adopted it for the several sectors like banking, energy, telecommunications, and much more. Now, let's explore what are the practical applications of knowledge graphs and related technologies and real life scenarios. So, the classical use case of knowledge graph was fraud detection. Fraud detection, where you can have multiple nodes in the graph as actors and how they are connected to each other. Maybe if we want to detect the credit card fraud detection, so how the two actors or two transactions, transactions between two actors are connected. So that's how we can have a fraud detection use case. And second is risk management, where we want to analyze all the factors, for example, like an epidemic or any sort of maybe business risk assessment. The knowledge graphs are very useful. Similarly, different enterprises also use knowledge graphs for supply chain management, similarly for customer management. There are event-driven knowledge graphs, which are also popular nowadays. For example, any particular event, let's say the COVID-19 or the Omicron now happening. So these kind of events, event detection, event-based knowledge graphs are also there. So we can have updated knowledge instantly through the knowledge graphs. In security, banking, these are always popular use cases that we can achieve through knowledge graphs. So in addition to this, there are some promising research directions that are used for utilizing knowledge graphs. So I'll cover that one by one. So for very first direction, the future directions that we are looking into, or the world is looking into, is knowledge graphs for social good. So even the United Nations, they are supporting the use of knowledge graphs to address sustainable development goals, which are covering topics from poverty to healthcare to education and beyond. There are workshops or the conferences as well where knowledge graphs for social good like topics they are conducted in recent like knowledge graph conference where they bring together the community of practitioners, policymakers, experts to discuss academic research efforts and ongoing industry work that can address sustainable development goals of the UN. Then the second is there are knowledge graphs which are used for autonomous driving and knowledge graphs are essential for autonomous driving. So autonomous driving basically requires some advanced understanding of vehicle situation in order to make some informed decisions about how vehicles should behave. So such an understanding it could be derived from observational data you can say some modalities where radar, cameras, lidar, these kind of things, or controller area networks, uh, or analyzing the driving scene. This kind of understanding or the knowledge, which is very much important to infer how actually we can represent this knowledge in symbolic or a neuro-symbolic form while inferencing, reasoning, or learning, which can be achieved through neural networks. There is another promising direction which is flourishing in field of vision, which are high quality knowledge graphs for vision. Such graphs includes nodes with multilingual glosses, illustrative images, and visually relevant relations, and much more. Therefore, one should know the powers of knowledge graphs in AI-enabled systems to exploit maximum knowledge out of the data. Thank you.